Good morning and welcome to Audacity with PS. My name is Adekoya and I'm the head of customer supply chain for one of the leading FMCGs in the world. Good morning and welcome to another edition of Audacity with PS. As our customers, I'd like you to put the link on your WhatsApp stories, put it on your Instagram, invite your friends, invite your family, tell them that we're in for another amazing time, just 30 minutes to get us get up and to get us prepared for the week ahead of us. Talking about the week ahead of us, we have the next conference holding this Saturday. The next conference is a gathering of champions, it's a gathering of young people where we get fired up to legislate. Yeah, this year we're talking about the legislation. And it's a conference that you don't want to miss. It's happening at the Landmark Event Center by 9 a.m. Ensure you're there early, ensure you invite your friends, and you're there seated and prepared for what God has to do in your life this year. Now, down to the business of Audacity with PS. Today, we're talking about a very, very interesting topic, one that is really dear to me. But first of all, I'd like to say thank you to our apostle, our man of God. If you can, please put some fire emojis in the comment section. Say thank you, PS. We love you, PS. PS, I'm so grateful for this opportunity. You know, this season of Audacity with PS, you have allowed those of us that you have pastored and you have mentored and you have poured into, you have allowed us to showcase of what you have poured into our lives, and we do not take it for granted. So my dear PS, I love you, I appreciate you, and thank you so much for always pushing me out and always believing in me, and thank you for your love and care for me. I do not take it for granted. So today, we're talking about office politics. And I'm sure somebody is wondering, oh, why are we talking about office politics on Audacity with PS? You know, typically, office politics has a negative connotation. You know, you think about backstabbing, you think about lying, you think about scheming and trying to get ahead and all that. But the truth is that politics is present in every single organization, and you can't run away from it, especially if you want to get ahead in your career. And even if you're a business person, yes, you have to play the politics. But the difference is you need to play it right. You need to know how to do it correctly. You need to know how to do it appropriately, and that's what we're going to be learning today. So first of all, we start off with what is politics? What is office politics? And they're simply a set of actions and behaviors that make people compete for power and status in the office. Politics is very synonymous with power. How powerful are you in the office? And you may say, oh, I'm shy, you know, I'm not one of those powerful people. I'm not aiming to be the most powerful, but you have to. If you want to get ahead, if you want to be audacious in this season, you have to get into the seats of power. Yes, you do. And really, it's about two things: influence and relationship, and the power that they give you or the power that they don't. Yeah? So if you have influence and relationship, you will get power from that. And if you don't, you will be viewed at as someone that doesn't have power at the workplace. That's basically it. You know, remember when you were in primary school, in secondary school, there were people that were the teachers' pets. You know, there were people that were bullies. Yeah, because that's how they got power. And do you think that will suddenly stop because you're grown up? No. People don't outgrow those things. It just graduates into office politics. And you need to learn how to navigate that area. You know, yesterday I was having a conversation with my boss, and it was funny. I was complaining about a certain lady and then what she had done and stuff, and he just laughed. And he said, welcome to office politics. And I smiled and I said, yeah, it's funny that I'm going to be talking about office politics today. And let me even tell you what happened. So there was this lady at the office that I had asked her for some information. And in fact, I had asked her team, but her team said they couldn't get it and all. And I said, why can't you get it? I need the information. You guys are the custodian of this information. So of course I escalated, because she's the manager of the team. So I escalated to her and I said, oh, I'm not getting this from your team, and I need to get this, and this. And zilch, no response, no answer. And her team have been saying, oh, Ore has been asking for too much information and all that. So it was saying like, oh, I was disturbing their team and all that. So I kept quiet. So I had a presentation with the CFO and the head of supply chain from my organization. and I was presenting some information, and I invited her because she's the custodian of the information anyway. So there were some things that I may have needed to clarify. So we had the meeting, and then I did the presentation to them and all. And the CFO was so impressed. And then he was like, wow, Ore, I know why everyone is talking about you. I'm really, really impressed at this. You know what? I want you to come and present this at the ManCom meeting that we have, blah, 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 blah. And then he went on and on and on and on. He even started talking about how my appraisal went in the office and all that. And I was like, okay, because he was really, really excited, you know, and all. And then 2 days later, I get a mail from this lady. She said, Ore, please find attached the information that you requested for your presentation at ManCom. And then she copied the CFO, she copied the head of supply chain and all. And I'm like, okay, this is information I needed a week ago. You did not respond. But suddenly, because you joined in the meeting and then you saw how important and how relevant this information was, and the fact that the CFO was asking for it to be shown at the ManCom meeting, and suddenly, oh, you took it serious. And then when I sent her the email, I sent it to her alone. Why did she have to copy the CFO, copy the head of supply chain? And then she also wrote there that, oh, I've done an analysis and I've seen that 30% came from this, 50% came from this and all that. And I smiled and I smiled. And that's what I was telling my boss. My boss said, oh, of course, she has to show that she's working, that she's also relevant and, you know, getting ahead with the things that are happening in the organization and all that. But yeah, that's a way people use politics to make themselves known, to make themselves ahead. Yeah. You know, I know that a lot of people think that, oh, I do my work, I am efficient, I'm good, I'm all that, that's enough. Shouldn't that be enough? Shouldn't my work speak for me? Yeah, you heard that several times. Let your work speak for me. Oh, I'm here to debunk that myth. Work does not speak. I'm sorry to tell you, work does not speak. People speak. Either you speak or someone speaks for you, but work itself does not speak. Here's another reason why you need to get into office politics. So think of your graduation in your career as a pyramid. You all start at the lower base, and there's so many of you. And then there are only, as you go up, there are fewer and fewer and fewer positions. Then it becomes less and less about competence. Because guess what? There are several competent people. And I'm sure you've heard before that no one is indispensable. Yeah. There might be a unique spice and creativity that you bring to the team, but trust me, there are several people that can do exactly the same thing that you do. And this is why you need to make yourself stand out. You need to make yourself different. What makes you different? You know, in performance appraisal at my office, in fact, they call it a pyramid structure, and it's known that it's pyramid. So the lowest scores or the average scores is what everybody is expected to get. But then as you go up and up and up, the higher scores are reserved for the people that, you know, stand out and all. And unlike school, it's not about doing exams and passing. I'm sorry. It's not about getting the highest scores. It's not about being the best, because there are several of you. You can be book smart and you are not street smart. In the office place, in the workplace, we don't need you, you know, to get the highest scores and all that. Your influence and your relationships are so, so important. There was a year during my performance appraisal, and then my boss gave me a rating that was average. And I got angry and I said, oh no, that I don't agree with this score. I spoke to her and all that. And then she was like, well, the people that are appraising you, they don't see you and all, and this is the score that they gave you, you know. And I was really quite upset. You know, I wasn't happy about it at all. I said, but you know me, you see what I do and blah, blah, blah. Eventually, she went back to the team, and then the rating was revised and all, but it really, really got me thinking. I thought I was all that. I thought, oh, I was good, but the fact that they could actually give me a low score in the first place got me really thinking that there's something that I need to do. And that made me start developing my political agility, as I would call it, and, you know, making myself different. So it's not just about doing good, it's about, you know, how am I viewed and how am I perceived in the organization? So back to what I said about your work doesn't speak. How do you speak for yourself? You start by documenting what you have done. And I know that there have been some, you know, very, very good episodes on this Audacity with PS season. And we've talked a lot about, you know, doing good in your organization and how you can excel, how you can stand out and all that. Yeah. I know that there are people that do office politics and yet they have nothing to offer. That's not what I'm talking about. So I'm here to lay on the foundation of all other episodes you know, the ones that have been done by Pastor Maiwa, the one on emotional intelligence by Mrs. Agbebi, you know, the one that has been done by Pastor LA, PD, and all that. Really, really exciting sessions that you need to go back to. So I'm not here to talk to people that don't have a foundation. I'm not here to talk to people that are not good and are not relevant in their works. So I'm here to build up on all the other episodes that have been aired. And I'm sure we've had so many exciting sessions with PD, with Pastor LA, Pastor Maiwa, Mrs. Agbebi, Deacon Ketiko, Dr. Bola, so many of them that have taught you about how to excel and how to get ahead. I'm here to build on that. And despite all that, that may not be enough to put you at the top in your career. And here we're going to learn about practical things you can do. So one is speak for yourself. Speak for yourself. And how do you do that? You start by documenting the things that you have done. Every year, I have a notebook where I write the things that I have achieved that year. Because when it gets to the end of the year, even you may have forgotten. So you need to speak for yourself. Yeah? You need to ensure that you know the things that you have achieved. Now, by any chance, do you have a chance to speak to the MD? Do you have a chance to do a presentation and all that? Then you need to give it a lot of work and a lot of thought. A few days ago, I had a presentation that I was preparing to a couple of C-suite in the office. C means, okay, CEO, CFO, COO, and all that. Yeah, the top people. And for that day, I forgot about my work. Yeah, not that I forgot about it, I delegated. I told my team members, work on this one. And I gave my all to the presentation I needed to make. Because I knew that they may not see my everyday work. They may not see it. But that presentation I had to them is what they will use to judge me, and is sometimes might be the only thing that marks their mind about Ore. Yeah, because, oh, she presented to us, she had some very good insights to show and all that. And that was the presentation where I have to laud my achievements. Yeah, I loud them up. You know, the Bible says man looks at the outward and God looks at the inward. Only God looks at your heart. Man looks at what you have to offer outside. And it's how you present it is so, so important. Some people have done good, amazing things, but the way they present it is so shabby. My God. So you need to learn how to present yourself. Yeah, if you're doing a presentation, how much time do you put into the slides? How creative are they? Are you adding pictures? Are you adding other things that make them informative? Are you adding graphs? Are you adding tables? You know, and then how about your presentation itself? How do you look when you're presenting? You know, the day that I had a presentation to Mancom and all, I paid particular attention to how I looked that day. In fact, when I walked into the office, my friend looked and she was like, wow. All right, what's happening today? And I smiled, because for me, it was very important. This was one day that, this was actually the first time in my current role that I was getting to, you know, present to the management committee and all that. And I needed something to mark their minds. Yeah, I knew that I had a lot up there. You know, I had a lot to offer. I had a lot in my presentation and all that. But I paid attention to how I look. So I needed to ensure that I am visible. When I do work, I ensure that I copy my boss, especially now that we have a lot of remote work. Does your boss know what you're doing? Do you copy your boss, or do you say, oh, I'm doing my work, everybody? How would they know? Your work does not speak. You need to ensure that the people who are relevant are aware. Has someone asked you to do something? Is there a delay? Are you keeping them abreast? Not just, don't wait for them for 2 months to ask, where is this? And you say, oh, I'm working on it. No, you carry them along through the process. There was someone that asked me to, you know, get on something, and I was getting a lot of delays from the person that I was supposed to. Oh, what I did was I carried him along. So after 2 weeks, I sent him an update. I said, oh, this is the progress of where I've gotten to. These are the delays I'm getting. I don't know if you have anything to say, anything I might do differently, but this and this and these are the things I've done. I carried him along. So at any point in time, he's not lost. He doesn't think that Ora has forgotten about this thing. I handed it over to her. But I carried him along every step of the way. You need to ensure that you do that people know what you are doing and people know your relevance to the organization. Because if you don't speak, it just might not get spoken of, yeah? And if you're a business person, do you have an Instagram page? Are you posting about what you're selling, what you're doing? Are you telling people about what you do? And if you have an Instagram page, are you just posting about what you sell, or are you posting relevant content that people want to see? So for instance, you sell clothes, you sell shoes and all that. Are you also speaking about the type of clothes to wear to which occasions, or the type of shoes, or how to take care of your feet and all that, clothes for your body type, all those extra things that people want to hear? Are you always in people's faces? Or do you have an Instagram page that the last time you posted was 2 years ago? No, you need to constantly be in people's faces. You need to constantly ensure that you expose yourself and you are made visible. Now, the downside of it is a lot of people now go backstabbing other people and talking evil of someone else and trying to downplay. That's the negative part of politics. The positive part is trying to expand your achievements and trying to make those achievements known and speaking about them regularly. Yeah. Now, the second part is getting other people to speak for you. And this is so key. Do you see informal conversations with people in power as lobbying, or do you see it as a critical part of your job? Let me tell you, it's actually a critical part of your job. I'll give you an example. So on my current role, I've been about 9 months or 8 months thereabout into my current role. And it's something that I have never, ever done before. Yeah. And how did I get the job? So there was a global head. I work in supply chain, and there was a global head of supply chain that I met when I went for a training in Switzerland. And so we had dinner that day, and then they introduced him as the global head. And at dinner that day, I said, okay, how do I make, there were so many people, and then how do I make myself known? So, you know, I went to him, I asked, oh, can I take a picture with you? And then I took a picture, and I said, oh, you're from Italy. You know, because I travel a lot, of course, I started using my travel as a conversation starter. And I said, oh, I've been to Venice before. And he was like, oh, really? Yeah. And then we started talking about European countries and all that. And then, you know, we had a nice conversation that evening. Now, as part of our training, the next day we had to do a group presentation to the bosses, you know, and I made sure that were several of us in my team, but I said, oh, I want to be the one to do the presentation, you know, and I did the presentation that day, and I addressed him, oh, like this, and I made sure that, you know, I called out examples from what he does and all that. So guess what? My name marked his mind. A couple of years later, he came to Nigeria, and then I was to present to him, okay, what we have done in my team. Remember what I said about presentations and lauding your achievements? Oh yeah, trust me, I did that. But in the midst of several presentations that was done to him, he remembered this girl. All right, you're the one I saw in Switzerland. Guess what? There were other people in Switzerland that he met, but he remembered me because I took a picture with him. I had a conversation with him. I had things to talk about with him, you know, and then he was like, oh, he said, oh, all right, thank you, and all that, you know. And then he came again, but this time a virtual visit and all. I presented to him again, and he remembered. So when this role became open, and trust me, this was about 4 years ago when I first met him. So when the role became open, he said, where is Ore? There's Ore that I met and did this and did this and did this. I think she'll be a good fit for the role. That was one part of it. Second part, there were 3 people that need to endorse me because it's such a high profile role, and you know, several people need to give like an okay on it. So he said he wants Ore for that role. The second person was somebody here in Africa, like the regional head of the CFO, the regional head of finance. And the year before, they started this mentorship program, and they put me in the mentorship. And I had a terrible experience in mentorship before, and I really didn't want to be involved. And I said, oh, I'm not doing this thing. But somehow my boss said, just do it, that something good might come out of it. I said, okay. And then I picked this guy as my mentor. So we started this mentoring program and all, and I ensured that I put in my all. Yeah, and this is another thing to talk about. When you have people in people of influence that you have relationships, don't just go and meet them and say, I want you to mentor me, I want you to mentor me. They're so busy. And how do you take advantage of those mentoring relationships? And let me just quickly give you 2 things before I go back to my story. So ask them for feedback. So if they work closely with you, if they have a chance to view you in your work and all that, ask them for feedback. And the second thing is give them scenarios. So give them things that you are handling, that you're dealing with personally, and ask them for advice. So how do you think I should handle this? They're not pastors. They're not there to preach to you and hand you down 5 things that you can do to get ahead in your career. No, you need to actually pull out things from them, pull out the wisdom that you need from them. Yeah. And so that's what I did with him. So every time I booked him by monthly session with him, and then every time I always wrote down challenges that I was having, you know, places that I thought I was stuck and all that. And I said it to him. I said, okay, I need your advice on this. What do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? And all that. Yeah. And then I asked him for feedback all the time. And so we developed a really close relationship. So when this job opportunity came back and he said, Ore, of course, Ore can do it. And that was the second tick I need. The third tick I need was my boss that I had worked with in Nigeria several years ago and all that. And trust me, that's how I got the job. I got the job mainly through influence. Was I the most qualified person for the job? No. There are other people that are more qualified than me. But in terms of visibility, in terms of people to speak for me in the room, I had 3 people that I had built solid relationships with that could speak for me. Of course, I knew that I wasn't going to get there and do shabby work and not deliver according to what was expected of me. I got in there and I delivered. And so that's what got me ahead in the role. You know, I'm sure you know people that have been in the job for several years on the same position, not moving anywhere, and yet they're like, oh, this is my personality, this is how I am, this is who I am, and they must accept me for the way I am and all that. No. And it's not about your personality. You could have a phlegmatic or a melancholy person that has more power than a choleric or sanguine. It's how you leverage on the relationships that you have around you and how you position yourself in those relationships, yeah? And make sure that you have people speaking for you in the room. Very, very important, very, very critical. Remember that everybody is indispensable. There are people that probably can do the work that you do even much better than you. So you need to leverage on relationships and your influence to ensure that you stand out. The third thing I like to say is sometimes you need to lose the battle to win the war. Don't be so focused on the little things, you know, on the petty arguments, or you're in a meeting and trying to make your voice heard and all that. Don't focus on those petty things. So look out for the big fish. What is the overall agenda of the organization? And yes, every organization and every department has agendas. Sometimes the agendas might not be positive, sometimes they might be negative, but you need to ask yourself, is this an agenda that I'd like to get behind? Right now, there's a sustainability agenda that a lot of people are getting behind, and whether or not they like it or not, it's a big topic. Everyone is talking sustainability, and it's going to give a lot of organizations clout. Oh yeah, we're using sustainable packaging in our. This is for especially the manufacturing companies and all that. You know, LGBTQ is an agenda. It's an agenda. Of course, this is something that personally I wouldn't want to get behind it, and I have made a decision that when LGBTQ is being talked about, I do not support. I don't. But if it's sustainability and if it's a clear goal of the organization, I get behind it. Imagine if in the organization they have said we're about reducing cost, and you think about something to, how can I reduce cost in my department? How can I ensure that we reduce waste? And you present something and you bring a solution that is in line with the agenda of the organization. Of course you will get ahead. Of course you will be noticed, because why? At that particular point in time, that was the important thing to the organization, and you got behind it and you brought something that was relevant to it. So don't get involved in the chit chat and the people that are trying to, you know, make their voices heard and relevant in little things. Go for the big fish. Go for the agendas. Go for the main thing the organization is focusing on at that particular point in time. And yes, that's the way you get ahead. The fourth thing I'd like to tell you is you're not in an organization to make friends. It's good if you have friends in your organization, but your primary responsibility there is not to have friends and not to get people to like you and to be in everybody's good books. You would have to tell the truth, and you have to say things as they are, even to your friends. Yes. So you're there to get your work done. You're there to achieve some goals and, you know, some responsibilities that have been put in your hands. So don't let friendship get in the way of you speaking the truth. Again, I'm not saying you should go backstabbing and then you should go betraying other people and all that. But when the truth needs to be said, then you say it. You say it appropriately. The next thing I like to say is never be caught on fresh. I don't know, I couldn't find any other way to say this, but never be caught on fresh. And what do I mean? When you are in a meeting and then you're asked for your opinion, don't say I don't have anything to say. If you're asked who has questions, don't keep quiet. Always think about it. What can I contribute? What can I say? I learned this quite late, in my career, you know, but right now it's such an important thing that I need to do because of the position that I hold. People are always looking to hear what does Ore have to say. I remember some time ago, so a few years ago, and there was this lady in my team. This lady knew nothing, in my opinion, She knew nothing. She was all clout and noise and all that. But I realized that when she's talking, people will be nodding and listening to, and what does she do? She feeds off other people. So when people make a comment, she'll be like, yes, I think that this, and she basically just echoes what other people say. But she'll always make sure that she was talking. Guess what? When an opportunity came, they put her in because she always had something to say, and she did that thing so well. always feeds up. And that thing, it used to get on my nerves. It used to get on my last nerve, you know. But then I realized that she's getting ahead. She's getting her voice heard. And me, that I had something in my head, it was staying in my head. It was not coming out, yeah? I needed to ensure that what was in my head comes out. And sometimes it's just about being mentally lazy. You don't want to think about what to say. Okay, do you expect the things to say to fly into your head? No. I remember a time when we had a delegation come from our regional office to Nigeria, and then they said, oh, who has questions and all that. I actually went to think. I said, what question can I ask? And I gave it some thought. It didn't come to me immediately, but I gave it some thought, and then I thought of a question. And then I asked the question, and then it was answered. After the meeting, the head of HR, the regional head of HR, came to meet me. She was like, oh, a beautiful question. I like that question, like something that's been on my mind and all that. And then, you know, it was something that was bothering her and all that. And, you know, she bore her heart to me and stuff. And then with that, I developed a relationship. So every time she sees me, she smiles and she's like, Ore, how are you doing? How is everything? She's very interested in me, in my career. Why? Because of a simple question that I asked. But did it come to me immediately? No. I actually gave it some thought. I thought about the audience that I was in and the kind of people that were there. And I thought about the question that I wanted to ask. Sometimes in meetings, are you just quiet? Or do you actually make a comment, make a contribution, ask a question? Yeah? Do you come across the CEO and he asks how you're doing and then all you have to say is fine? No. I'm sure you've heard about elevator pitch, yeah? So when you get into the elevator with somebody high profile and you have just 1 minute to say something, what do you say? Do you just keep quiet and keep the awkward silence? No. Never be caught on fresh, yeah? And the last thing I'm going to say is document. Document. And what I mean by document is, you know, you have a conversation with somebody, you agree something verbally, please follow up with an email, yeah? And this is how you get ahead of negative politics, yeah? I'm sure you're aware of people that have said, oh no, when did I agree that? I never said that, I never did that and all that, yeah? So you need to ensure that you always document. Even if you have a call with somebody and then you agree, oh, just follow up with an email. As we discussed, this is what we agreed on and all that, so that you always have that mail trail to show that, okay, yes, this was our agreement, these were the action points. Do you have a meeting? Are there action points? Always document. The faintest pencil is mightier than the, how did they say this thing? The biggest memory or something like that. You get, yeah, so like, as long as you type something and you document it, it's always there, yeah? You can easily forget. Sometimes people don't have, it's not like they have bad motives, but sometimes people truly forget and they don't know what was discussed. So you need to ensure that you prevent he said, she said, I didn't say, we didn't say, but you have your documents. And if you're a business person as well, always follow up with, always have a trail of the discussions you have with your clients. What did you agree? Even me, there have been times that I ordered clothes and then the clothes came. I said, oh, this is not what I ordered. And then the client shows me, you know, my order. Oh, this is what you said. You said you wanted size 8. You said you wanted red. You said you wanted. I'm like, okay, I've forgotten. So don't get involved in that web of, I didn't say this, you didn't say this, but because you don't have any paper trail, there's nothing for you to prove it. So you want to ensure that you always have a paper trail of conversations and you prevent things being said about you negatively or people misrepresenting what you have said. So today, I hope you have learned a thing or two about office politics. Like I said, it's about power. And how do you get power? By influence and relationships. Remember, work does not speak. People speak. You need to speak for yourself and you need to get other people to speak for you. You need to develop relationships with the key people in your organization. So how do you develop relationships in your organization? You start by asking for feedback. Yeah, you start by giving them scenarios. Oh, I'm dealing with this, and this. How do you suggest that I handle this? Yeah, don't just go to someone and say, I want you to mentor me and expect them to pour all their knowledge and everything into you. No. I also said, remember, sometimes you have to lose the battle to win the war. Don't get involved in the minor things. Get ahead with what is the goal of the organization, what is our overall priority in this season, and get behind that priority. Yeah, remember I said that you're not in the office to make friends. Sometimes you need to speak the truth and tell your friends, even though don't let your relationships get in the way of doing your work. All right, and then I said never be caught on fresh. Be always ready to ask a question, give a comment, give your opinion. Sometimes you need to think about it. It may not come to you immediately, but be ready to do that. And then document. Prevent people from using things against you that you did not say or misrepresenting you. Make sure you have a paper trail in your office, in your business, and all that. Yeah, I hope with these few points of mine, I have been able to convince you and not to confuse you that office politics can be used positively to get you ahead in the organization. I hope you learned a thing or two today. If you did, please put it in the comment section. What is that one thing that stood out for you today? What's that one thing that you're going to do differently? Remember, influence and relationships, not just your work. Work doesn't speak. I hope you're prepared and getting ready for the next conference this Saturday, and I hope to see you there personally. As our custom maze, we're going to end today with the creed. So I'd like you to put up your right hand and say together with me, as sure as God helps me, I will not give up, I will not cave in, I will not quit, I will not fail, I will not fear, I will not die until my job is done and victory is won. I am the new and I love this church. God bless you.